Hey guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. Hello, hello. Friday. It could not come fast enough, and at the same time, I feel like it was just the last weekend. So time is very strange right now, I feel like. All right. So today we are going to be continuing working on our raising stake or our forming stake. It's called either one. And we are going to focus in on this side of the forming stake. The first thing that we're going to do, though, is we are going to taper in the corners on this neck section. We've got some really sharp corners. They're a little bit off kilter. They're not quite 90. We want to push those back to 90 and then round them out. We don't want any really sharp corners on our raising stake because any sharp corners we have will transfer onto our sheet steel when we are making our vessels. So that's the first couple heats. So we're going to start here on the anvil, and then we're going to flip the piece around and go over to the press to start working on the back side. The design on the board has a point on the back side. I think what we're going to do is we're going to do another ball. So it's going to have two balls, one on either side. And this side will be a little bit smaller so that we have some variation in the tools. I turned on the forge about 15 minutes ago, but it's still a little on the cooler side. So I'm hoping that by the end of the ad break, which is going to be in about 3.5 minutes, or I guess I don't know, maybe 3 minutes. I never know. The ad break notification says 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Anyway, so after that, I'll take a look at the piece and see where we're at, see if we can start working. So I'm hoping you guys had a wonderful last 2 days. I've been having some fun. I finished up 2 videos, so next week's video and the week after's video are all set and finished editing. They just need to be uploaded and scheduled. So I am super excited about that. It makes it a lot easier next week when the butler will be home. I have so much trouble editing while I have other people in the house with me. So I finally got ahead. I am officially 2 weeks in advance, and I'm super excited about that. So yay! So I guess I could probably easily distract. Yes, I am super easily distracted. Like even the cat will distract me sometimes from my editing. I have to have like time and quiet to focus so that I can get like really into my editing and get into that flow state so things just like start coming together. So yeah, the holidays are going to be interesting because the butler actually has, like I said, next week, the full week off. And then they go back to work for, I believe, 2 more weeks, maybe 2 or 3 more weeks, and then they're off for the rest of the year. So I'm hoping that I can get some really quick edits out there so that I can, keep on track with the YouTube as well as, streaming here on Twitch, but also have some downtime to spend with the butler. So yeah, we shall see. As it gets closer to Christmas, I'll let you guys know what the Christmas schedule is going to be like. As far as I'm aware, nothing changes for next week unless we decide very last minute to go visit my parents for Thanksgiving. If that's the case, we might leave on Wednesday. I think that if we do leave on Wednesday, we'll probably leave after stream because I just don't want to miss a stream, I enjoy spending time with you guys, and I also kind of feel bad, when I miss a stream. So, let's see. Do I have anything else that we need to discuss? Not really. We are chugging along on this forming stake, and I'm pretty excited about it. I do want to remind you guys that a week from today, which is Black Friday, the 28th, we are going to take a break from the steak. Whether we're done or not, we're just going to put it down for that day, and we are going to be doing some jingle bells, just for a holiday project. And I'm hoping to get that video edited for the week of Christmas so that there's like, you know, a themed thing. We need to discuss your car's extended warranty. Yes, that's very distracted too. I don't know what it is, but every so often I feel like somebody signs me up for a whole bunch of like spam calls, like just like signs me up in like some online portal, and then I just get like inundated with spam calls. Eventually, because I hang up on all of them, they just take me off the list, but it comes in cycles. So I get like about a week every like 3 months or so where it's just nothing but spam calls, and then they stop because I'm really brutal when it comes to spam calls. Or if it is a robot in any sort of way, I hang up the phone call immediately if I can tell that it is AI or, you know, a robocall. If it is like some other spam, I will interrupt them in their greeting. I'll be like, "What is this in regards to?" If they don't give me a satisfying answer, I just hang up. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. All right, so our ad break is going to end in about 10 seconds or so. You know what? I realized I forgot to start recording our session. So I think that's all right, though. It should be fine. And I'm going to start the close-up cam too. But first, before I do that, I'm going to format the card. Because I think I forgot to do that earlier when I was setting up the camera. There we go. The cards get really full at the end. Hey, Jack. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. All right. We are going to do a couple heats here on the anvil. Like I said, we are going to see about taking off some of the corners and rounding out that neck before we turn it around and start working on the back end. So let's try it. Let's see. Hey, Bubba. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome, guys. I'm so happy you're here. Let's see if I can get this to work right. Maybe, maybe not. We're not doing so hot there. So let me swap tongs. I grabbed a different set of tongs specifically so I could do things like this, so that it wouldn't move around on me as badly. But these are not designed for such a large piece of steel. All right, back in the fire. Blah. I don't believe you. So today we are working on a raising steak or a bowl forming steak. So what we're trying to do, like our end goal, because this is a tool, our end goal is to take a flat sheet of material. This is a copper bowl, or I guess a copper disc. And we're going to turn a flat sheet into a bowl, or we want to be able to make armor, pans, vases, bowls, whatever we want, right? Hey, Yankee. So, needless to say, the design of the tool is similar to this. So instead of doing one ball on one end, we're gonna do 2 balls though. Yes, so it should be a fun project. We've already been working on it for 3 streams. I'm expecting probably another 3 streams at least, maybe 4 streams to make sure that this project is really good. And then we'll have to grind it out so that it is, you know, nice and dressed and there's no like dings and nicks in it. I wonder how that would sound as a symbol. You're interested, huh? Let's see if I can find a center point on here, where a central balance point first. Okay. There's one. I'm gonna use this. Not great. Sounds like a trash can lid. But I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a lot of like little bumps and lumps in here. This is not a very smooth surface, so you're not going to get a lot of really clean, crisp resonation out of this. In order to get that nice resonate, or what word am I looking for? Resonance. You actually have to chase this back down using flat hammers to kind of flatten it out and make sure that it's a uniform and smooth profile. Good cymbals are not made of all brass. Some very little at all. Yeah, I mean, some have a lot of brass, some have a little brass. There's different alloys that are used for different types of cymbals, right? So not every cymbal is made out of the same alloys of material. So, and you can kind of learn more about that if you're, because Sabian and Zildjian are some of the best cymbals in the world, and they actually talk a little bit about the different ways that they make them. You can actually tour their facilities if you are near them, and it's really interesting to learn about. Preach, I'm a drummer too. Yeah, I was a drummer when I was in high school. So I used, you know, congas and 5-piece kit in the church band. So Yankee is on a 15 stream streak. Awesome. Very cool. Thank you so much for your continued support. Awesome. I know that streak feature, they added it, and I wasn't entirely sure, like, why, but I think that it's really cool just seeing how many people, you know, just are watching the streams consistently. And it is really exciting to see you guys post your stream streaks, because, I mean, like I said, that's like consistency, you know? It means that I have people that keep coming back. So thank you so much for that. I greatly appreciate all of your support. Let's see. Are we hot enough yet? I think we're hot enough. I think what I'm gonna do, because the last heat was a little bit of a disaster, it was kind of bouncy and it didn't do much. Every time I see that you're on, I watch. Well, I greatly appreciate that. I do. I really, really do. So we're going to take these tongs and we're going to hook that ball, or that round section on the end, over the anvil. And I'm going to try and work on it a little bit from there. We're going to shake that a little bit and see if that helps us lose some of that bounciness. Wow, Forging. Hey, Simply Makes Toys. Welcome, welcome. I'm Ray, I'm a blacksmith. Well, I guess, you know, I'm a metal enthusiast and a blacksmith, probably. And yeah, I stream blacksmithing here on Twitch. Whoops. I think the last time I was using the this guy to help me out. My hold down to help me hold the metal. Because these tongs are really not holding them very secure. They're still doing a little bit. Not too bad. Not the best, but also not the worst. If nothing else, we're getting rid of some scale. Okay, back to the fire. Yep, I hit metal. I'm currently sitting in my car waiting for my dad to get out of the doctor's office watching. He'll be 77 in a few days. Ooh. Well, happy birthday to your dad. Ever thought of welding a handle to the other end to hold on to? We were totally talking about that, the butler and I, a couple days ago. I think it was probably Monday. After the butler got home from work, I was still kind of in that editing mode, and I was kind of also talking about the project and the problems that I was having with it. And they mentioned that I should just weld a stick to the end of it, and I can always grind it off when I'm done. And I was like, yeah. My only issue is, and it's the big issue for A2 to begin with, is that A2 does not take to welding very well, right? That is also why my previous stake that I made, instead of welding the stock on it, I actually wrapped it around here, right? So this is actually a piece of square tubing, and I upset it to the point where it would stick on here, and I welded the stem onto the wrap instead of onto the A2. A2 does not take to welding very well at all. I am probably going to attempt to weld the stem, or like the hardy, or whatever you want to call it, onto this piece of material eventually when we're done forming it. But I'm very much thinking that it's going to just crack off at some point. So we'll probably end up, in the end, doing another wrap. Morning, Lexi. Did you survive the hurricane? Or I guess it was a typhoon, right? Or the storm. I'll just say it's a storm because I'm not sure what they call it over there. I hope it was fine for you. I imagine it was probably rainy. Cyclone. I think that's what you said this morning. Or my morning. But yeah, I hope you made it out all right and with little to no damage, and you're ready to go. Been racing here since last night. Oh, raining. It's been raining here too. It's so humid right now. I was not sure, like, if I was gonna come out and find out that I had like a slick of water on all of my tools. Because occasionally that happens when it's really, really humid. I have to like clean it off and stuff. Make sure that I don't get that surface rust. I live in Cyclone Nation, or some would say the Hawkeye State. Hey, Nuts. Can I ask why you made it in A2? Stakes were made of wrought iron. The reason that I'm making this in A2 is because I have A2. I've not been able to find a good supplier of wrought iron. I'm sure there's raw available, but I just don't have a lot of funds to just kind of like throw at stock right now. Right now, we're running through stuff that I bought like 7 or 8 years ago and just like let sit in the shop with nothing to do. Because I have enough funds to buy the propane, but I'm a little short on funds in order to buy stock. So yeah. A2, what even is that? A2 is an incredibly hard tool steel. It's air cool. It's for industrial purposes. I got a lot of it really, really cheap at our steel supply as offcuts a while back. It's barely forgeable, but it works and it makes incredibly hard surfaces for stakes and other tooling. Even mild steel would work. I guess I just wanted to be challenging, or maybe I just hate myself. I'm a little bit sadistic. I don't know. But yeah, A2. It's been working pretty well, actually, all in all. Better than it has been in the past for me. I think I'm finally starting to get the hang of it. But yeah, like I said, it works pretty well. The other steak that I made, it worked absolutely gorgeous for shallower bowls, and I've made a lot of armor and a lot of like shallow depth vessels with it, and it's just worked really well. It's never deformed. It's pretty good. A2 builds character, maybe. I think I just hate myself, you know. All right, we're gonna try some more. I bought this specifically to turn into steaks before I was really familiar with blacksmithing. The idea was to do material removal. And I can cut down on the amount of material I need to remove by forging it. So I know I'm asking for it, but it's not too bad so far. There it goes. All right. Okay. That's good enough for now. We're going to turn this around, start working on the opposite side. And stick that in there like so. Is this project for a customer? No, it's for my personal use. I started in my metalworking career as a fabricator and then also as a silversmith. So I want to do some silversmithing here on stream in the next coming months. And I wanted to show that I can, you know, the blacksmithing side of things by building the tools that I'm going to need to use to make the bowls that I want to raise. What would you weld that A2 with? What kind of filler material? A2 is the kind of steel you need to be in a bad mood to beat your anger out on. Honestly, like I said, A2 does not like welding at all. So I don't really know that there's any particular filler material that I would specifically go for. I mean, me and what I'm going to attempt, I'm just going to use flux core wire weld. I'm thinking that I'm probably going to raise the temperature of the material to probably a nice cherry red. on both pieces, and I'm going to weld it while it's nice and hot and allow it to air cool to re-harden. And I think that's going to give us our best chance of maintaining a good weld, I guess. If not, I will just use another piece of like square tube and another wrap. Silversmith, like making ornaments. Not necessarily. A lot of silversmiths will make vessels like teapots or tea infusers. People will make glasses. They'll make decanters. We've seen alcohol decanters. You can make silverware out of it. There's any number of different projects. I mean, the sky's the limit, really. It's just the practice of working with sheet silver is silversmithing. I need to get up close to this material. Ooh, I want to see silversmithing stuff. Unfortunately, we're not actually going to be using silver. I don't have enough sheet silver on or like available. The closest we will be getting to actual silver is nickel silver. And that is a much, much cheaper material. I have a section about yay big we might start working with. But there is more nickel than silver in nickel silver. What are you going to make using silver? I'm sorry, I'm a bit curious. So I'm primarily going to be using silversmithing techniques. When you're beginning to learn silversmithing, instead of using silver itself, a lot of people will use copper, brass, bronze, and nickel silver to kind of simulate it. Because the techniques are the same regardless of what metal that you're using. And it's a lot cheaper to use like copper alloys than it is to use silver. So we're going to be using the same techniques, but we're not actually going to be using silver. If you're interested in seeing something that I have made in silver, I can grab, I think it's out here. Let's see. Well, I guess, well, that's not in here, but I can show you some other things that I've made using the same techniques. So this right here is a set of, it's a tea set. It's a miniature tea set. It's like doll sized. So it's got a teapot with a lid and 2 cups. And this is actually functional. So if I show you guys, let's see. I've taken some of my quench bucket water. Oh, tell me it's not. Okay, there it went. No, it didn't. I think it's clogged. But yeah, it kind of works. It's a tea set, so. That's something that I made while I was in school. Here's another thing that I made while I was in school. This is a piece of cast brass. It's a little Buddha that I made. Like I said, when I was in school. It's kind of cool. So that tea set is actually magnetic. It was made to be part of a brooch. Yes, cup with a pinky up. So, I mean, that's kind of some of the stuff. I've made tea infusers before. I've made large vessels. I don't know if I have a large vessel out here. Did I leave one out here? I don't see one, but I can show you this guy right here. This is a knee cup. I use silversmithing techniques to make this. It goes on your knee like so. It's a piece of armor. I never put any of the leather on here to like hold it on. It's not padded either, but it is a knee cup. So we're gonna actually use our stake to make a shoulder piece. Hey, Mahalo. Welcome, welcome. All right, how's it going? It's looking all right. So yeah, that's a little bit about my background, I guess. I don't normally show you guys like some of the more delicate things that I do. So I hope you like them. All right, I'm gonna move the camera over to the press so that when we start working again, you guys will be able to see what I'm talking about. So yeah, I probably shouldn't be using A2. I should be using a lot of other different materials. But in this case, we're gonna do it anyway. She just shows us the Ray Smash stuff. I do. I kind of do. Ray Smash. So we have an ad that's going to be starting in about 3 minutes. So I will probably wait to do my next heat on this piece until that ad is up because it's not quite hot enough and I don't want to be interrupted by the ad. But yeah, I've been talking to the butler about setting up a silversmithing / jewelry bench in the house so that when it gets super, super cold, because we don't have, or the heater that's over there doesn't work right now. So that when it gets super, super cold in here, we can go in the house and we can do some silversmithing or some jewelry work. I've got some ideas for some piercing, which is a technique where you take sheet metal, put a design or glue a design to it, drill some holes, and then cut it out with a jeweler saw. You can make some really pretty things with that. I've been thinking about doing, well, obviously I've been thinking about doing more vessel raising. I don't know that I'm actually going to make any jewelry. I spent a really long time working on jewelry and I don't know. I want to work a little bit bigger than jewelry, but maybe smaller than this. That heater to your left doesn't heat you enough. This one, I mean, it does sometimes, but when it gets really below zero, so that would be like negative, or I guess it would be, it would be well below 0 Celsius, below 0 Fahrenheit. It gets super, super cold and the forge just doesn't heat it enough in here. It gets so cold that the fluorescents won't light up anymore. So yeah, one of these days I need to repost all of my large scale furniture that I made when I was professionally working as a blacksmith. I haven't actually reposted those in the Discord. There's some pictures of them while they're in progress on my Facebook where I made an atlas table where the base of the table is a human figure and then the top of the table is like a map. And I made a fire screen and some benches and some chairs and a light, a couple lights actually. But yeah, those were a lot of fun. I should repost those or at least retake pictures of them so that you guys can see them. Because, you know, I don't just do the small stuff. I feel like most of that stuff, though, is a lot of fabrication. It's some blacksmithing, but a lot of fabrication. We've been doing a lot of just blacksmithing here. So, yeah. Wow. The coldest day this last winter here was 48 Fahrenheit in the morning. It was still 90 by noon. Wow. That is crazy. Must be living in a desert. All right, so we are currently in ad time, so that's not too bad. Bevel Leathercraft is raiding. I am not sure if the ad is going on right now. You guys might be stuck in in ad purgatory. Mahalo already beat me to it. Jeez. You guys are good. All right, I think the ad is over. Bevel Leathercraft, thank you so much for that raid. Welcome to the stream. I'm Ray. I am a blacksmith. I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2:30 Eastern U.S. time. I stream blacksmithing. Most of the time, we are discussing doing a little bit of silversmithing technique in the coming months, and maybe some jewelry techniques as well. So thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. That raid should have happened an hour and 45 minutes later, so I have to do a few more heats, right? We are going to do our first heat on this side. Let's see if I can make this happen with these tongs or if I'm going to fight it. Are you going to fight me? You probably will. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. So we've got a little bit of deformation going on, which is exactly what we want to happen. We want to start forging this out. As you can kind of see back here, we've done quite a lot of forging already since the entire brick of steel was the same dimension. So it will take us a few heats to get this to start really moving, but that's what we're here for. Patience wins the race. Well, that was weird. Not the comment I was replying to. That is weird. If it's not the comment you were replying to. How long have you been smithing? So I started blacksmithing in 2010. And then in 2020, I got sick and I had to take a break. I took a forced break and I came back about this time last year. So I have been back in the shop for about a year, working here and developing my stamina back and getting stronger, being able to work longer. So I'm a little bit rusty still. I'm getting a lot less rusty. So one of these days I'm gonna have to stop using that excuse that I'm rusty. But yeah, that's kind of my background. When I went to school for fabrication and welding, and I also branched out into silversmithing, as I've said earlier in the stream. But in 2010, I got really into blacksmithing because an ex-boyfriend also got really into blacksmithing, and we were friends at the time after having had that relationship. And he's like, let's go and learn blacksmithing. And so we did. You've hammered the rust off. Maybe. I keep saying that I'm rusty, but yeah, I feel like I have kind of shaken the rust off, and maybe I'm just like learning that I wasn't as good as I thought I was. Or maybe I'm as good as I thought I was. I don't know. So yeah, most of my blacksmithing like training was done through YouTube. I watched a lot of videos early when Alex Steele was just getting started. And I've spent a couple of weeks at the Metals Museum in Memphis, Tennessee. They are a working blacksmith and casting shop. And they are out on the river banks, and it's a really good time. They have forging on the river every spring where people come out and they bring in a master blacksmith and they teach you to, do a few advanced techniques, a little bit of the basics, but mostly more advanced techniques. Make a few dozen more nails. Right? I mean, that's where my technique is going to come from, right? We're just going to sit there and we're going to have a couple more streams of just nails. That explains your energy and enthusiasm, the steel influence. I don't know about that. I've always been super, super into metal as a material. Even before I started blacksmithing, I was very enthusiastic. Metal is one of my special interests. I learned everything I could about casting and just about different alloys, and yeah. I'm not formally trained in metallurgy or anything like that, but I read up and I listen and I learn as much as anybody is willing to teach. So I try to be enthusiastic though. Honestly though, I think my style of performing and presenting the blacksmithing stuff is partially due to the fact that I was in theater when I was in like junior high, grade school, junior high, and a little bit in high school. And so I did a lot of performance art in that way. It wasn't until college that I really got into like sculpture and metal. Before that, I was like, I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to draw things. But I learned very quickly in college that I wasn't very good at drawing. And I don't know. Caffeinated or caffeinated Ray might be more Alec. Maybe. I do have a big addiction to caffeine, so most of the time you do see me caffeinated. I just leave it in the house before I come out here. I've had an entire 20 ounce, well, I guess it's 16 ounce of Mountain Dew before I came out here, so That might also contribute to the fact that I have to go to the bathroom at the end of the stream every time. All right, let's do another eat before I share way too much personal information. Just remember, you kind of inadvertently asked. So right now we're running a little on the colder side, and so I need to just be more patient, just wait until the heat is all the way up. We're not getting as much deformation as I want because I'm just not waiting long enough. So we're gonna wait. Patience, Ray, patience. Get her hooked up on Cold Monster with a Red Bull chaser, and we'll need Alec, or we'll need the Alec line. Less yak yak, more whack whack. That's totally what would happen. I already get caught up in talking to you guys, and then I forget what I'm doing. So I put this elbow brace on earlier because I'm one-handing that giant stick of steel, and it's probably 7-8 pounds. And this arm isn't as strong as this arm is, and so I don't know. I need that support on my elbow, but it's starting to cut the circulation off to my hand, and I need some. Blood is good, guys. Blood is good. Getting swole in the shop. See, that's my problem, right? I bought that one for this arm like in the spring, and I've actually gained a lot more muscle mass over the summer and the fall. And so when I put it on, it was like way too tight. So I don't know. I guess I need another, a bigger one, a bigger brace. Bevel Leathercraft, thank you so much for that follow. I think that I already thanked you, but just in case I didn't, thank you again. Welcome to the stream and welcome to the community. Blood is good, Ray Smithy 2025, right? See, blood on the inside is good. Blood on the outside, less good. I gotta preface that because just blood is good taken out of context makes me sound like a vampire, you guys. I'm not a vampire. I just play one in D&D. I didn't think I was going to be drinking a lot of water today because it's cooler today, right? One of those fancy quenching techniques, right? I think several years ago, there was a meme that was going around Facebook, and it was talking about if there's iron in blood, how much blood of my enemies would I have to have, or how many enemies would I have to kill in order to make a sword out of the blood of my enemies? And I think they like actually mathed it out with the average amount of iron in human blood. New metal alloy that is blood quench, and that's what they decided, right? It was too many, or it wasn't as many people as you would imagine, but it was over 1,000, and so people were like, well, maybe we just want to quench our steel or our sword in blood as opposed to, you know, making the steel out of the blood. So yeah, we don't do blood quenching here. We do air, oil, and water quenching based on what the alloy needs. This steel, as I said earlier, is A2. It is an air quenching steel. So the funnest part is that every time I cool off the forge and I cool off the steel, it re-hardens. A lot of times I will leave it on the anvil. Sometimes I'll leave it in the forge as the forge is cooling down. And so that makes it cool even slower. And so it gets real nice and hard. Are we doing all right? We're getting to that time of the year where if I'm down to the dregs of my propane tank, I end up having to switch them because the bottom of the propane tank ends up freezing up. And so there's not as much gas coming out of the tank, and so it cools the flame down. So we might have to be doing some propane juggling today because I did not buy a new tank. But it's all right. We'll have a new tank for Monday, and we'll have a new sponsor for Monday. So I'm super excited to talk to you about next week's propane sponsor. I will leave that for Monday, though. Some people's thirsts are beer quenched. Some people, I think I would be afraid to quench in beer because alcohol burns, right? So would beer have enough alcohol in it to be like, start on fire like an oil quench, or would it be more like a water quench? I am curious now. Anybody know? What would beer quenching be like? Would it be closer to water or closer to oil? A water? I can imagine. Maybe like vodka or something would be. I still think that it would probably be closer to water quenching. It'd be pretty though. You'd see like the alcohol burning. Pretty. If you guys didn't know, I'm kind of a little bit of a pyro. Right now I'm changing the angle just a tad on our camera. We're going up from a higher angle just to add a little bit of variety. There's only so many angles that I can do with the close-up cam over on the press. The sugars in it might caramelize. Vodka would catch on fire. I'm interested, right? It might be something worth checking out. I don't know. Maybe I could make a short out of it. I don't really do a lot of alcohol, like drinking wise, and because like I only really drink when I am out and about at blacksmithing events. So I don't know. Maybe it's worth getting like a 20 or something and trying it. All right, let's do another heat. We're still a little on the cold side, so we're getting hotter though. There it goes. I was wondering when that was going to start. are kind of new to this material and to the stream, I'm not actually expecting a lot of movement today. Most of our movement is going to come on Monday when we've got a little bit more thinness. Right now, we're just kind of tapering it down to our initial width. I gotta go now. My phone is at 10% and I don't have a charger with me. Well, you should definitely get going. Thank you so much for joining us as long as you have. Have a great rest of your day. So, like I said, I'm not expecting a large amount of movement today. Most of the movement is going to come on Monday, the second day. Hey, oh my God, Pete, welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining us. I need to take care of some post-stream stuff too. Have a great weekend. You as well. Thank you so much for your raid. Have a great weekend. So yeah, we're having fun today. Like I said, I really, really need to be more patient. But I'm also thinking that my propane tank is a little bit low, and so we're not getting quite as much heat out of the tank or out of the forge. So I may end up changing the tank out earlier, just to see if I can't get a little bit more heat out of the forge. Hey Chris, welcome, welcome. We'll probably do that in a few. I want to make sure that I get the most out of each tank as I possibly can. Add a water. All right, I'm gonna go grab some water, or I guess not some water because I didn't prepare any more water, but I'm gonna grab a Gatorade real fast. And then we'll probably do another heat after that. Let's see. Yellow, yellow, because always yellow. I do this to myself. I always end up complaining about the yellow Gatorade, and I do it myself because I drink all the red and then all the blue, and then I'm left with the yellow, and I just complain and complain about it. That's gonna bother me. I left the light on in here. Let me grab these and put them back. Whoa, as I trip. Turn off the light. There we go. We'll go in there eventually. Goodness gracious. Does the butler not drink yellow Gatorade? The butler does not drink Gatorade as much as I do. Oops, there goes gravity. Yes. Yes, there goes gravity. So yeah, the butler only drinks Gatorade when I'm not drinking Gatorade, pretty much. Hey, Sandwich, welcome to the stream. Like, when it's super hot, the butler will drink Gatorade, but only then. I drink Gatorade all the time because it's something to drink that's not soda. That's starting to slowly look like a torpedo, is it? It is starting to kind of slowly smush out. We will eventually do another like big squish, so we're gonna turn that other end into like a rounded section. Great smash. So yeah, eventually. But right now we're just drawing it out a little bit so that we get a smaller ball at the end. I'm trying to create two different size tools because I want to be able to use all the sides of both of my tools and, you know, make everything useful, right? Redundancies are fine in some areas, less so in this particular type of tool. If I've only got two of them. So we've got an ad starting in about 3 minutes, guys. So yeah, that should be plenty of time for us to heat up the steel. And I think after that, we'll probably change the tank after our next heat, just because it's a little bit on the cool side. Like the forge isn't heating all the way up. So I'm hoping I've got another tank that's like full enough to get full heat. We'll see. I got a few over there that have a little bit left in them, and I don't know. If not, I don't know what I'll do. I'll figure it out though. Let's see. What has been going on? That's not necessarily blacksmithing related, but like, I don't know. So next week, the butler will be off work, and so I know on Friday that, like I said, that we are going to be doing our jingle bells, but there was a part of me that wondered if maybe on Wednesday I also do a second, like, I push the stake back another day so that we could do another day of just forge welding. So I've been thinking about doing that, but I'm not entirely sure because it's been really rainy this week. So I can't pull the coal forge outside if it's raining because it's just not going to be pleasant for anybody involved. Well, maybe you guys, but not me and not the butler. And not the forge. So I probably won't get a chance to do that if it's, if it stays rainy like this next week. But if I can manage it, it would be fun to do. And I do need to do another stream of just forge welding. So I guess I'm going to be playing that one by ear. If it happens, it'll be a surprise for you guys. It's definitely not going to happen on Friday. We're going to be doing those jingle bells. But I don't know. I kind of feel like next week is going to be a big surprise for you guys. Because I feel like it's going to be a big surprise for me. Let's see. But yeah. So what are you guys going to be up to this weekend? Got any good plans? I know that I'm going to do a little bit of editing and probably some grinding on the axe because I was not able to do that last weekend because I got sick on Sunday. The butler's birthday is next week, so we'll probably do a little bit of celebration for that. So that's the other thing that I have to be aware of. I can't force the butler to come out and work out here with me on their birthday. So I think that would be kind of mean. Nice weather this weekend. Trying to get stuff done outside. Awesome. I mean, I feel like it's going to be the last weekend to really be able to do some of that stuff. Black Friday shopping on Monday. Yeah, because Cyber Monday. Family bonding time. Just buy a bigger press and squeeze the parts together until they stick. It's called force welding. Yeah. I have considered using the press to do some forge welding. But I'll talk about that a little bit later after the ad is done. Funny how easy you adapted to calling him the butler, right? But I mean, I call the butler by their gaming tag a lot too. I call them by their gaming tag sometimes when we're just out and about by accident. If we've been gaming a lot recently, or occasionally, very rarely, I call the butler by their real name on the game though. I try to be very considerate about anonymity. I'm a lot less apt to be to the anonymity than the butler is. My gaming tag is Ray, so like Ray Gun. So most people that I game with call me Ray, but the butler likes to be a lot more anonymous in general. I'm going to continue watching the rain and hope the wind stays at a manageable level. Goodness. Well, be safe, Lexi. Thank you so much for joining us. Ronald Reagan. A lot of people say Ronald Reagan, like when I first adopted that as my gamer tag. But it's supposed to be Ray Gun, like I'm a Ray Gun pew pew, like Buck Rogers. Because the character that I was playing at the time when I picked that was a ranger, and they used a gun. So, Ray Gun. And it was a name, and it was funny. So, I don't know. All right, let's do another heat. I do eventually want to get another press. Sometime in the future, when I've got the funds to do so, we will be getting a new press and or a power hammer, so that maybe we'll be able to do some forge welding with the press. A little bit of drawing. That's not terrible. I think of the store Raygun that makes funny shirts in Des Moines. Do you think you will purchase it or fabricate it? So I have talked about fabricating another press before, and when I talk about fabricating tools, the butler always tells me that I should just buy a properly made tool, because when I fabricate tools, half the time I spend more time fabricating and fixing my fabrication than I do using the tool. I kind of lucked out on the press, but it did take me almost a year after I fabricated it to be able to use it. And like I said, I built this thing like 10 years ago. So I was able to use it a little bit before I got sick, but after I came back, I started using it a lot more heavily. But it took me a really long time to make it functional. And I think the butler just, when we have the money, they just want me to save up enough to just buy something that's ready-made and all I have to do is plug and play. If you decide to go fabrication route, if you'd like, hit me up. I have quite a few resources. I definitely will ask around before I fabricate another tool. I want the best plans and the best shot of something functional that's going to work long term. So if I decide to fabricate another tool, I will ask you guys. I'll ask in every Discord I've got. I will ask every resource I have. You can be sure about that. Definitely be sure about that. I did at one point talk to the butler about doing one of those. They have these workshops that people will run where you fabricate a tire hammer, and so it's like a group of like 6 or 7 people, and everybody fabricates a bunch of tire hammers, and then everybody goes home with one. I have actually talked about filming one of those. I think that would be a really fun video, but we have to put together the funds and work that out with somebody who is running those workshops. It's just a couple Horus from me. I want to go every year. Is that the workshop, the tire hammer workshop? Oh, hours, yeah. The tire hammer classes, yes. I would love to go, but I haven't put together the funds. I also feel like I need to talk to whoever is doing the class, because I feel like I would want to film the whole thing. And I got to make sure that everybody's comfortable with that. Some people don't want you to film. Some people are a little bit more secretive about that. So yeah. I've been watching press build videos on YouTube a lot since I got mine for ideas on dyes and other tweaks. I mean, more power to you. You should, because you want to make sure that you're getting the best tool for your money. And so any mods that you can find, anything that you can do to make your tool better, you should totally do that. Definitely. I definitely recommend that. But yeah, so one of these days we'll get up there and we'll do something. We'll get a better press or a power hammer or something. It's just, time and resources. All right, let's do another one. See, I took the dies that I built for the press. I built them from power hammer plans. getting an even heat. And then I've got one other thing I want to do before I put this guy back in the forge, and that is take some of the scale off of here. There we go. I got some ideas from him. Going to adapt his fly press slot punch to a spring puller mechanism for bottle openers. I missed the first part of that. Rajoni Ironworks does a ton of power hammer work with custom dies and shapes. They're not all transferable presses, but some are very interesting. Yeah, I also learned that not every power hammer die is really compatible with press dies, or with a press, but a lot of them are actually. So yeah. Not all, but enough that I was pretty satisfied with it. So back when we were going to make our axe, I initially started with this piece here, and I thought that it was 4140, but it turned out it was A2. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy, I'm going to cut it this direction, and I might actually turn this into a set of fuller dies. You know, but I'm not gonna forge it like I'm forging this. I'm just going to grind it. It's all gonna be material removal, so that I can get some nice smooth dies that have a smaller radius than the ones I've got here. But I'll get to that when I get to it. The big difference, in my amateur opinion, is power hammers impart heat through friction. Presses only draw heat out. That is the truth. Because a power hammer, it's got that extra force in the, it moves a lot faster, and it just doesn't, because a press, as it crushes, it's maintaining the pressure, like an even pressure draw, and so that ends up drawing a lot of the heat out. But the constant hammering motion with the minuscule amount of time that the dies are pressing the material, it creates a lot of friction when the molecules in the steel are moving around, and so it does generate a lot of heat. It's very similar to the process where a lot of people, you can light a coal forge with a piece of small stock, where you just you hammer the end and kind of taper that end, and it'll heat up, and you can light a forge that way. It's that same process. Thunk, 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 thunk. Yeah. I mean, you guys were there when I showed you the coal iron power hammer. It was super fast. And I mean, it completely drew out that piece of stock that they were using, so fast, you know? And that one was a pretty big one, though. It's a lot bigger than the ones that you build in the kits at the classes, but those still work beautifully as well. This thing was impressive. I could watch that for hours. I mean, the amount of ASMR that you can get out of a power hammer, it's so cool. Big Game Hunter 44, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. I hope you're having fun. I know I am. I am a little bit tired, but overall, I'm having quite a bit of fun. So we are keeping on. Well, not ASMR in the strict sense of the term. I mean, I don't know. Industrial ASMR? I feel like that term is really broad, you know? All right, I need to change the propane tank because it's not heating all the way. So let's do that real fast. Let me find the heaviest tank. That one's a little heavier. That one's heavier. That one's still heavier. Which one's heavier now? This one. So we're gonna try this guy and hope that we can get some more heat out of it. Whoops, I don't know why I'm tightening it. Because righty-tighty, lefty-loosey doesn't make sense, guys, especially when the propane tanks are threaded backwards. So much more propane in the first tank, but it's all frozen. So we shall hope that there's enough in here that we can heat up our metal, at least until the other tank unfreezes. And then I also need to open the door because I totally accidentally closed it. I also think you guys can't really see me as I'm doing this. I don't know what I did, but I kind of feel like the wide camera is a little bit closer than it used to be. All right, let's restart this thing. There we go. To my understanding, ASMR uses sounds which seem to be very close to the body, giving people a sense of chills that some folks find relaxing. Interesting. I guess I never really had like an actual definition for ASMR. I am repositioning my close-up camera so you guys can kind of see what's going on there. And making sure that it is nice and sharp. One Twitch streamer I watched apologized for eating ASMR as she was crunching on chips. The term seems to be used by some for pretty much all sounds that some people like. ASMR is an incredibly broad category of content. Some of it is more safe for work than others. All right, so now that we've got the propane tank changed, it's getting hotter, or the forge is getting hotter, so we should see a little bit more movement going on. Like I said, we're probably not going to see a lot of movement until Monday, just because this is such a hard piece of steel, and we've got to thin it down enough that we're going to see more movement. Wikipedia says an autonomous sensory meridian response is a tingling sensation that usually begins in the scalp and moves down the back of the neck, upper spine, a pleasant form of paresthesia. It's been compared with auditory tactile synesthesia and may overlap with frisson. That is a very technical definition. But it clears up a lot of stuff, you know? ASMR, like I said, it's become very broad, and a lot of people just use it for a lot of random stuff. So this set of tongs is working a lot better than the other set of tongs. I was a little bit worried because these are made for a much smaller piece of stock, but the piece of material isn't moving nearly as much. So I'm pretty excited that I've moved the other side enough that I can get some a better grip. All right, we're gonna do our next heat now. We've got enough heat now. We're getting a lot of heat out of the forge. Yeah, that's much better looking. More movement. Because we've got more heat, and as a result, I can feel it with my knuckles. We're gonna flip this over like so we can get some even pressings. We've got more on that side than this side because the guys kind of move, or I guess they are at an angle. The pressing isn't even, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I'm finally getting to the point where I'm debating if I need to take off my sweatshirt or not. I used this sweatshirt instead of my new plaids because this one isn't as warm. And I knew that I would want to take that one off way earlier than this guy, but it would be too cold for me with just short sleeves. So I don't know how to dress anymore. Alright, I got my left glove. I think I'll use that for our next heat, or I will try to use that so I don't burn my knuckles. The bad part about heating the material all the way up is that my knuckles can feel it when I am using the press because I've got that lever, and I have to move it down. So yeah. So the other day, Corwin was talking about how do you make my press work on a foot pedal. I've kind of been actually using it, and I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. Keep up the great work and have the fun. I'm gonna get some outside stuff done. Thank you so much, Mahalo. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you later. Maybe you could put some pieces of pipe under the lever to extend it. I probably could. But yeah, I was a little bit worried about there's the little wings on this nut. The last press I had, they bent really easily, but this one has held up really, really well. So I am thinking that it would be possible to weld the lever to the nut, and then that would make it permanent. I still am not entirely sure if there is a way to raise the lever without a second pedal, but you guys did mention a second pedal, so I don't know. I might see if I can't figure it out, but I'm also a little bit worried, so I don't know. I might do some calculations. Not sure if the heat from welding could damage something inside. See, I don't know either, right? But I feel like if I spot weld, like, so this guy right here, I have the little indents that I put in here, and if I just spot weld the little cross onto these little, I guess the indents here, I could probably use similar techniques to jewelry if there's a seal behind it or so. See, I don't know. Like, that's why I'm a little bit worried to do something like that. I don't know, because I don't know what's in here, you know? It could break it. I mean, if there's like a rubber seal or something, it might melt. I don't know. I really don't know. It would be nice to not have to be able to use both hands to feed the metal through the press. I wonder if a hi-hat stand could be rigged to raise and lower the lever. See, I wondered, you know, or like a double bass pedal, you know, because you get the double bass pedals, and some of them that like raise and lower, and you know, you've got the two pedals that like work on the bass drum like so. But there are also other ones where you have to use both of your feet, and I don't know, you might be able to do something like that. But I'm also, like I said, I am a little bit worried to like weld things to the bottle jack, you know. You can build a small rig with an electric motor to turn the valve and control it by a pedal electrically. See, I'm thinking about it, right? I am. The reason I hadn't thought about it before is because I just wanted it to work, and it does work. So it's like, why fix something that's not broken? But yeah, I'm not entirely sure if I should bother, or you know, how much of a bother it would be to do something like that. I'm curious myself. I found a snap-on floor jack at the dump last week. Somebody cranked the handle so tight that the bit in the cylinder is frozen up. Not fix it, improve it, yes. To heat or not to heat? I mean, if the floor jack is already broken, I mean, you could totally heat it. You know, I doubt you'd really be ruining it because it's already frozen up, right? But like, mine isn't broken, so I don't know. If you go about doing that experiment, you'll have to tell me what happens. But I mean, I am also like, if I were to use the jewelry technique, because I'll talk about that after the ad starts, or after the ads end. Maybe leave it overnight with a puddle of WD-40 or something on top, if possible. See, that might work too, like, or an acid. But you have to be really careful with an acid, because while it will unstick it, if you leave the acid on too long, it will re-stick it in a different way. So once this ad is over, I will do another heat on the press, and then I will also talk a little bit about the jewelry technique that I'm talking about. But yeah, I don't know when the ad's gonna start, and I don't want to be like in the middle of talking about it and then the ads start and get cut off. This is why I hate ads, right? Because I never know who can see me and who can't. Because I feel like Twitch's ad system is really inconsistent. Some people get the ads, some people don't get the ads. Part of me is like, all right, reconnection successful. All right. All right. Okay, I'm back. All right, cool. Yeah, I noticed that OBS was blinking on and off. It blinked off and then it reconnected, but then it blinked off again. So I apologize. Yeah, we are back. Thank you, Sacha TZC, for that follow. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. I apologize for that weird blink. We normally don't have issues like that, so I don't know what happened. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. Knock on wood. Or this wood, I don't know. One wood is as good as the other, right? Ray might have enough anger to get the steel moving now. Maybe. Sasha, thank you so much for that subscription with Prime. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. Thank you so much. I will do my best to get that updated, or the end screen updated. I got a couple new subscriptions that I've got to add. Thanks. I really admire your work. I don't really speak English, but I love seeing passionate people creating beautiful things. Supporting you was a pleasure. Keep doing what you love. It's truly inspiring. Greetings from France, especially from Marcel. Awesome. Well, welcome. We have quite the international audience, so you will fit in just fine. Unfortunately, I don't speak a lot of French or German or Dutch, but welcome. All right, let's do another heat. Woo, look at that fire, that heat. Yummy, yummy. I love it. I said I was gonna put my glove on, and I didn't do it. Get a little bit of movement. That's good. That's exactly what I want to see. That might light up the room if the power went out, right? It's pretty bright. Now you have a steel bowling pin. I do have a steel bowling pin. It's a little bit heavy for a bowling pin, though. So I told you guys that I was going to talk a little bit about a jewelry technique that I was thinking about using for welding the handle onto the press. So in jewelry repair, a lot of times they use stones that do not take heat, right? So if you heat up like an opal, you'll burn it and it'll crack and it'll break. If you heat up an emerald, the color will come out of it. Same with a peridot. So you have to be really, really careful about heating up certain gems. And as a result, when you have to either take the stone out before you like work on a ring, or you have to cool down that stone, right? So a lot of jewelers will wet down a paper towel and put it over the stone, or they will use the special heat repelling mud or several other things that like cool down the stone while you're working with it. If you heat up an opal too much, it will burn. I doubt the other cars are more robust in this regard, though. Yeah, I mean, opals do. That's what I was kind of what I was saying. Like if you heat an opal, it burns and it'll eventually crack. Sapphires are and diamonds are super resilient. You can heat those guys up and they will stay. They'll stay shiny and new, and overall they're really really robust. But yeah, like a lot of the other stones, like they're softer, and so you have to kind of make sure that the heat doesn't get to them. So there are different techniques that different jewelers will use to keep them nice and cool while you're working on it. Curie uses Hellerder for this. Same stuff you can also eat. Oh, some stuff you can also eat. Similarly, the pun doesn't translate. Oh, there's a Euro car. Is there a European car called an Opal? I'm like really dumb sometimes. I had an Opel Kadett once. Oh, I did not know that Opel was a car brand. I'm kind of a dunce when it comes to some car brands, though. I'm like Chevy, Ford, GMC, Kia, Toyota, Hyundai. Those are car brands. I don't. If there's other car brands, I don't know. But yeah, I guess if Opel is a car brand, okay, learn something new every day. Datsun. Is that a car brand? I know about Dodge. I used to have a Dodge. My last truck was a Dodge. It was a Dakota. It was a good truck, except for the starter died in it. I also somehow blew up the coolant tank. And so there, like, I was driving along, and suddenly, like, this, I guess it was a tube that moves the coolant through the system. It blew off of the side of it, and so it threw coolant all throughout my engine, and it was a giant mess. It's now Nissan. My dad had 2 Datsuns in my lifetime. Okay. Like I said, I'm a little bit of a dunce when it comes to car brands. A lot of times I will go out and I'll see, I guess Audi is also a car brand, but yeah, I'm really bad about them. Opel used to be kind of a German branch of General Motors. Meanwhile, it is part of Stellantis. Hey, Jet Pinky, welcome to the stream. Hello. Well, you guys will have to teach me about cars at some point, too. But yeah, I feel like if I welded the handle on, then I would try and keep the rest of it, or the rest of the jack cool, you know? Audi is part of the Volkswagen group, is it? Then I bought my third ever vehicle when I was 19, a 79 Porsche for $800 or $900, and passed along the Opel to another airman for $300. I kind of feel like that's a thing you do when you're in the military, you know? You pass down the cars when you go from base to base. We'd be ready for vampires. We will be ready for vampires, you know, by making a steak. We be making a steak. Oh, I forgot to put my glove on again, guys. I forgot to put my glove on again. That's all right. I'm not going to worry about it. We're going to put it in this direction now. Keep on keeping on. We're getting really close to the point where I'm going to start laying in that round section. Did I miss a propane tank change, or is it just getting longer soak times? I did change the propane tank. I did it off screen because I think that the wide shot is a little less wide than it used to be. I think it's because I shoved the camera up, maybe. If a coolant line bursts, this can cause engine damage by lack of cooling, but as well be caused by it. If a blown head gasket lets the compression escape into the coolant circuit and build pressure there. See, I lucked out, and I did not blow my head gasket when the coolant hose blew off of it. I was able to limp it to a repair guy before it happened, and they cleaned it up and they repaired it, but it never ran the same because I think coolant got in the circuit board, and then it eventually corroded it, and then it just wouldn't start anymore. Welcome back, Bubba. Okay, it's definitely getting a brighter yellow-white now. It is. It's moving a lot easier and a lot better. I should have started I guess I should have changed it a lot earlier. But yeah, we're getting a much, much hotter piece of steel. And it's because I changed the propane tanks. The other propane tanks started really freezing up before it had a chance to heat up the entire forge. So it never made it all the way up to full temperature. So now we're at full temperature and we're starting to move pretty well. And now I am going to make sure that I get good coverage on these. There we go. So we are going to keep working on this on Monday, and hopefully we'll be able to get our other ball started. Fire up the coal forge and bring it to the press with sparklers, right? Unfortunately, I don't have a good flume for the coal forge inside the shop. It's something that I gotta work on, because I really want to start using the coal forge inside the shop over the winter. But I have to figure out a good way to create a flume. So it is an issue. Hellider translates to healing clay. It is meant to be eaten or put it onto skin. But according to Curie, it's perfect to make some fixating and cooling clay for soldering. I mean, there's a lot of really good stuff for that, you know? We used special clay that was deliberately designed to repel heat, that we bought at the jewelry supply warehouse that we ordered from. But yeah, I had my very own can of it that I kept in my bench because I did all of the sizings. So I had to make sure that I didn't break any of the stones or fry them. I would have to install an exhaust to be able to use a coal forge in my garage. See, I do too, right? We did actually install a, it's like an over the stove vent, but it's not strong enough to draw all of the coal smoke out of the shop. So like my first and only attempt to start up the coal forge inside the shop ended up with us smoking ourselves out. We ended up using the industrial fan to kind of get it out of the shop through the garage door. So I gotta come up with something else, something better. Hellider does not explicitly repel heat, but when mixed with water, it contains enough water to keep the temperature down. Yeah, like I said, a lot of jewelers will just soak a paper towel in water and then wrap the gem or whatever they're trying to keep cool in the paper towel, and that typically works. You can also submerge your stone in a glass of water, because like a lot of jewelers, when they're they have like a third hand that's like a little grabber tool, so they'll just submerge it in water and that'll keep it cool. There's a lot of different ways to keep it cool and to spot heat. You need a large overhead flume so the smoke all goes up the chimney and exhaust. How is metal smacking going today? Hey, Dr. Optimal. It's going pretty well. We finally got it hot enough that it's starting to really move. So I'm pretty excited about that. We've got a much smaller end, so I think I'm going to start creating that other end, because we have a round on one end and we're going to do a smaller round on the other end. So exciting. And I think I'm going to do another heat now, just because I'm thinking about it, and I have this like habit of forgetting to just do my stuff because I get excited talking to you guys. in the heat. I got a teeter-totter in there. Nice, more squishing. Squishing even. Here it is. It's called medicinal clay, obviously. That was glowing nicely when it came out. It was. I'm really excited that we got enough heat. Earlier in the stream, I was having a lot of trouble getting the heat all the way up because the bottom of the propane tank froze over. So I swapped propane tanks, and this one's doing really nicely. A2 requires an incredibly high temperature in order to move it. And so we're finally getting up to that temperature. Part of me, Sandwich, thought that maybe the translation that, or of what you were talking about was like hummus. Because hummus to me really looks like clay. And I don't know what hummus is made of, but it's supposed to be like good for you and stuff. So I guess if it's medicinal clay, then that's something different. But yeah, that's really what I thought that you were talking about was hummus. And I think that's like not even an English word. I tell you what, if you didn't use propane, it would get hotter. That girl ain't right. It would get hotter if I used coal, but I'm not using coal because I need a flume. I need a flume. I actually, in order to do like a proper flume, I have to figure out what is above me in the ceiling, because there is an attic in the garage, right? They kind of like drywalled a flat like ceiling in here, and there's stuff over top of that, and it's like an attic. So I have no idea what's in there. I know for a fact that there's one over the carport, and there's a whole bunch of used tires in that one. So we just sort of left it there, but I don't know what is up there. But I would have to be able to like get through that in order to get a pipe to go outside through the ceiling. Hummus's main ingredient is chickpeas, I think. I am sure it is much more tasty than Hellard. The stuff is pretty much inert, I think. I have no idea. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that what you were talking about was not hummus, but like I that's the first thing that came to mind when you started describing it. You may want to consider a shed or an outbuilding though too. Insurance companies are very weird about wood stoves or anything that like that being inside a house or garage. They do, which is why they don't, you know. I have to be very careful about how things work. Everything is movable in the shop, right? It's pronounced Heilerd. Okay. Heilerd. Maybe that's what. Did I? Okay. Yes, I just meant if you built an exhaust or chimney, you might be a bit more obvious. Yes, I would. But like I said, we put a stove, like a stove event, and we opened the window, and so there was actually smoke coming out that window, and I was a little. I looked at the butler and I'm like, "Are you sure about this? This seems like a problem." So I don't know. All right, I have an ad break coming up in about 3 minutes, but I think we can beat the ads with another heat, so we're gonna do that. real fast. Like I said, I think we're gonna beat the ads. Alright. Alright, hopefully I beat the ad. Back in the fire we go. I did beat the ad! Yay! Alright, let's do that. So yeah, when we started putting the van together, we made sure that everything was easily removable for that as well. Because we wanted to make sure that everything was copacetic for insuring it as a van, as opposed to like a camper. So everything is ratchet strapped down, but you know, so that it can be removed, but it still functions-ish as a camper. The ads deserve a beating. I don't know, the ads give me some revenue. I can't beat them all the time. Leo Thora, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream, welcome to the community. Thank you so much for joining us. Ads have their purpose, you know? They're not the best and the most exciting thing ever, but they do serve a purpose. Let's see. I don't know. I had something and now I don't. The more weight you put in the van, the more stopping power you need. Exactly. Exactly. We are nowhere near the maximum poundage for that van, though. Everything that we put in it is like really light. I know I typically don't do heats during ads, but all I'm going to do is sweep off the scale. We're not hot enough yet. Ugh. The ad break is almost over. I guess it's back. We're back. Yeah. The paperwork and approvals necessary for any fireplace by law needs regular visits by the chimney sweep. And have to be checked and cleaned, and they will shut the thing down if it does not comply. Yeah, we have a fireplace in our house, but the flume is broken, so we don't use it. It is stuck in the closed position, and it would not work. So we specifically do not use that the chimney, or I guess the fireplace. You can make a mount for a generator for my van. We actually have a battery pack. It is 1,000. I think it's like 1,000 watt, or maybe it's amp. I never can remember what it is. It's 1,000 of whatever. Anyway, we bought it specifically to go with the air conditioner, so we can run the air conditioner for 10 hours straight off of the battery pack. So it's a pretty decent size. Watt hours, yes, that. The anvil I bought yesterday would be a perfect van anvil, or compact, and the weight is where the hammer blows are. Awesome. Yeah, you had mentioned that you were buying it specifically for travel, so that is exciting. But yes, sandwich, I think it's 1,000 watt hours. I think that's the, I wasn't the one that like looked it up and decided which one that we were gonna get. But yeah, the weight in the back of the van is still so light that if you go over like a speed bump, the whole thing just jumps. So it is definitely not overweight. Welcome back, Knots. I'm back for a couple minutes. Awesome. Welcome back, welcome back. We are gonna do another heat. And I'm gonna make sure that I do have time left on that. Woohoo! We're starting to make some progress. Some decent progress, at least. I did that in a really weird order. But that's alright. Not bad. It's starting to shape up. I might do a stream Sunday. I have to make a couple of holdfasts for Thomas at Christ-Centered Ironworks. I might do them during the stream. That sounds like fun. I'll try and be there. John, the cyclone where we're in right now is exactly the same weather as the hurricane at Quad State, but I'm not sleeping in a tent this time. Well, I'm glad that you're not sleeping in a tent this time. Nearing Zero followed right this second. Thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. Welcome, welcome. You better shape up, because you need a man, and my heart is set on you. Gotta shape up. Because Greece, right? You could have slept in my mini camper, but you didn't want to be the little spoon. Let's see. Yes. Honestly, that would be so scary. So when I went to Mexico and I went camping in Mexico at one point, and the campsite that we were at was kind of really sandy and flat, and a dust storm happened. And when we woke up, like most of the tents had blown and like broken. And I lucked out because the tent that I was sleeping in, it survived, but a lot of the people that I was camping with, that was not the case. We ended up sleeping in the vehicles after that. It was kind of scary. So for our next heat, we're going to turn this thing a quarter turn, and we're going to squish the sides. We've grown a lot of width, and I want to take that down. So we're going to turn that width into length. So super exciting. We've made quite a lot more progress on this than I was expecting for the day. So we will be continuing to work on the other side, or this side that we're currently working on Monday. Unless it's really nice outside for whatever reason, then there is a small chance that maybe we'll do a little bit of forge welding. I'm thinking that we're going to be working on the stake. You never know. But yeah, that's the plan. So we will be back at 2:30 Eastern US time on Monday after we end the stream today. And I think we'll probably do about 2 or 3 more heats and then probably end the stream. We've had a good run today. I've had a lot of fun. A forge welding stream is a missed stake. Yeah. Yep. Or maybe it's not a missed stake. I mean, it misses this stake, but I need all of the forge welding practice I can get. You have to watch the forge welding. I mean, I do have to watch the forge welding, right? It's entertainment. I'll get myself some popcorn and we'll just watch the forge while it welds for me. We need to give her encouragement. Honestly, I was just afraid of us dying in there of asphyxiation. You wouldn't have even had to move the covers for a Dutch oven. Is your camper really small? I mean, mine's just a van, but there's plenty of space in there. We have a full bed in there. All right, I'm gonna do another heat. Oh, I forgot. I was going to move in this direction, wasn't I? Let's do this. My camper is 5x8, Ray, just big enough for a full-size bed. That is kind of small, but like I said, mine is just a, I think mine is just over 5 foot wide, and well, I guess it has to be close to 6 foot wide, because our full-size bed is horizontal in there. And we just barely have a 3 foot section between the bed and the bulkhead. Need a Murphy bed in the van. Then you can fold it up into the sides of the van and have extra space when you're not sleeping. I would love a Murphy bed, but I don't have a high top, and so there just isn't enough room to fold it up. Didn't you convert a trailer into a camper, or is it a van? There's a lot of really good campers, and some of them are big and some are small that I saw at Concave. Mine's made of a widened HF trailer with a frame, or a foam camper. A foamy camper. Is that a Harbor, the HF, is that Harbor Freight, or is that just HF? Is that like a brand? Nice, you got a good sized bed in there. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I got a full size bed, but I did have to cut the frame like down by about an inch, and I bolted it back together. I made custom brackets for it. So one of these days, I do actually have we did film that entire process of cutting the bed in half and then putting it back together with the brackets. And then I also, I filmed most of the process of us converting the van. I have not edited it together though. Yep, Harbor Freight. See, I had bits and pieces of a Harbor Freight trailer that the owner of this house before us left here, but I don't think I had all of the parts to it. I had the front tongue, I had the tires, I had all of the wiring for it, but I don't think I had the axle. So I couldn't put it together, like the back axle. I thought about it, but like I said, I couldn't find all of the pieces. It would have been nice to have it though, you know? So I think I'm gonna do 2 more heats. The first heat is going to be the opposite of the last one that we did. And then I'm gonna do 1 more heat, turned 90 degrees just to continue drawing out this piece. You could have checked around and maybe made it work. I could have, but it was in my way, and so we just ended up getting rid of it. Raid, raid, raid. Yes, this would be the time for someone to raid if they were going to. Shoulder popped. All right. We are gonna do 1 more heat, right? Or another heat, but we'll do 1 more heat after this one. I said we were doing 2 more heats. this direction, and then we're going to keep, well, I think we're going to turn it this direction, and then we're going to keep on keeping on. We've got a nice ball on this end that's starting to form. We might actually bring it back a little bit, because we've got those fishlets developing, and I don't want it to be that tiny. I think I can still make it work. I say before you shut down, you heat up this a small and give that fancy hammer a couple of swings. I mean, I guess I could. I threw up a picture in the Discord. Thanks, Knots. I forgot to do it myself. Like, I had a picture and I texted it to the butler, but I forgot to put my picture in the Discord. Let me do that real fast. My picture was fancy. Just upset the lips back into it. I will. Here, just a picture. The treadle hammer working? I gotta watch that one too. I do. Okay, let's put the picture in. All right, I just put it in general. It's a picture of one side of the hammer and my kitty because they match. Why do people call it the Discord? Because it's the Discord that's associated with this channel, I guess. Something like that. There it goes. There's my picture of it. My picture with the kitty. We're old. See, I'm not a big fan of Discord too, either. The only reason I have one is because I am an avid gamer. There's a reason Americans say the hospital, but people from the UK just say hospital. See, I don't call Facebook the Facebook or the Twitter, you know? Yes, the refers to the one associated with whatever group. That's what I was referring to, is the Discord for this group. Discord as a whole is Discord, you know? Okay. I mean, if you guys want me to heat up something, I could probably heat up something and use the little hammer on it. Do I have anything in the house? Or I'm not in the house. What am I thinking? I'm in the shop. Do I have anything in the shop? It's way too long to say our Discord channel in Discord. Yes. Jane and Fox, pizza. Pizza sounds good. I might try and convince the butler to get me some pizza. All right, I'm gonna do one last heat on this, and then maybe I will heat up a piece of sheet, and we'll see what I can do. Maybe. All right, that's all she wrote for that. You're whining. Ugh. It's a little bit of a curve I'm trying to take out. But that's that for now. We'll work on it a little bit more on Monday, hopefully. Don't forget to add pineapple. Hand-forged pizza. Just kidding. Okay. Let's see. Do I have anything good that I could use? I mean, I got this. Do you guys want to see? Stay. Let's see. It's a mighty big piece of sheet. It is. It's definitely a giant piece of sheet. All right. Let's see if I can do this. Na, 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 na. All right. I have set that up. So you guys should be able to see what I'm up to. I'm actually going to turn off because I'm going to use this sheet of copper. And copper is, it doesn't need the heat. I can use the hammer without heating it. I'm going to put this guy over here so I don't accidentally back up and burn myself on it. These are going to go there. That's going to go there. And this is going to go over here. Do, 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 do. All right. Let's see, what does this look like? All right, I think that's all right. It's been a while since I've done this. That's better. All right, and so you can kind of see that we've got a nice round that is starting to form. So that's from using the hammer with the stake. And so basically how you do this is that's your first row. And so then you do a second row in the opposite direction. And then you do a third row all the way to the end. And that's kind of how you do it. Was that acceptable? Pretty bold stripes on there. Yes, they're gorgeous. You guys should be able to see them from here. Here, I'll go this direction. So you guys should be able to see how gorgeous this hammer is from there. Is it not lovely? So pretty. I love it. So gorgeous. All right, guys. I'll accept that as a test drive. Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you had fun. I had so much fun. And I am looking forward to coming back on Monday. So I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I am going to snooze this ad real fast. Thanks for the stream. Thank you guys. I need to update my outro now. So awesome. Thank you guys so much. If you have a suggestion for who you want to raid, please do let me know. I always take suggestions. And in the meantime, I'm going to see who is on. I did not make the hammer. Knott's hubby did. John Brunel. He is an amazing blacksmith. He sent that guy to me. Thanks for streaming. I always have a good time here. Awesome. I'm glad you feel that way. All right. Looks like we're going to be finding a new. What did you think? My hammer would break, Lexi? To be fair, that piece of steel or that piece of copper is actually like a piece of 16 gauge, so it is super thick copper. Courtney is on. Okay, let's go, Courtney. All right. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. Hopefully, I see you guys on Monday. Bye.